It is time to pick a Popcak,
Yes, it is. Can you spin that wheel, Mr. Finn?
I can spin that wheel,
Let's spin that
let me
wheel.
do it vigorously here.
Ooh, I think it is. It is
Rachael.
Good morning, Rachael.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
How are you this morning?
Oh, the applause this time.
Yeah.
I can applaud.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
you get an
People
applause
are
line,
excited
the
whenever
whole
you
nine
come
yards.
on. And then they read your title, and we wonder, you've got all these initials next to your name. Rachael Popcak Issac, MSW, LCSW, CPT.
Yes.
Wow.
Quite the little title there, yeah.
My name has a question mark next to it. Yours has all these.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Talk about credentials. Wow.
That's funny.
So where would you like
That's
to take us
funny.
today?
Well, I think that when one of the things that a lot of us often really kind of struggle with is the ability to kind of set healthy boundaries, knowing what that looks like, knowing if it's okay or mean to set boundaries. I think we often think it feels really mean. Because I think a lot of times we think of boundaries as walls, as something that are supposed to, keep people out. But really what boundaries are meant to do is to keep love in, because they protect the peace, the time, the energy that allow us to show up as our best self, not resentful, not exhausted, but genuinely present. So I think a simple tip that I kind of like to share with people to just help set healthier boundaries is to just get clear on what it is that you want to protect, not just what you want to prevent. So instead of kind of starting with, I just need to stop saying yes to everything, make that shift to, I want to protect the space I need to rest, to pray, to connect with my family, to feel grounded. And, that shift, I think, just really changes everything. It moves us from reacting to our stress to really proactively stewarding our peace. So like many things related to our mindset, I think it's kind of helpful to think about how we approach driving a car, right? Because we don't stare at the side of the road saying, I don't want to go over there. We look at the road and we're attentive to where we want to go, right? Making that mindset switch that I'm describing here, I think, is a lot like that. It's focusing on what we do want to achieve or protect or cultivate, and that just allows us to be more successful in actually attaining it. So focusing on what we don't want, though, just kind of ends up always getting us in trouble. So, boundaries don't mean that we're being unkind. They just mean that we've learned what helps us stay healthy, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so we can give from a full cup instead of an empty one. And yes, setting boundaries can often feel uncomfortable at first, because I think we often worry that, somebody's going to be disappointed or they'll think differently of us. But I think we really have to remember that that disappointment is really momentary, but burnout and unhealthy situations are not. So, just this is your gentle reminder that, saying no is often really how we make room for those things that matter most. And I like to kind of think about it as like, it's not selfish, it's stewardship.
Well, and there's also seasons in our lives, right, Rachael? Because there are times when the floodgates just open, and it's a little harder to set those priorities, but we still need to do it. And other times where it can be very manageable.
Absolutely. We go through those seasons a lot. And I think, I often kind of talk with clients about kind of the idea of balance. And when we think of balance, we think of everything being, perfectly still and steady and everything's together all the time. But really, like when we're balancing, think of standing on one foot, right? We're kind of tilting a little bit this way and we're tilting a little bit that way, and, to kind of find that center. And that's how I kind of think about, those seasons of our life. And sometimes we have to kind of focus a little bit more on this area or focus a little bit more on that area, or say no to this other thing so that I can say yes to this thing that's maybe been neglected recently. Or, it's that balance and kind of that back and forth where not everything's like perfect all the time and, everything's in right order all the time. But it's, being able to be attentive to those different things that really God's asking us to be attentive to, in those different seasons of our life.
You know, one of the things, Rachel, that people sometimes try to do is like, look at a day and look at how they're, how they divide up their work, play, prayer time kind of thing and relationship time. Or they look at it within a week context, like how does this kind of shake out after a week? Is that a good way to do it, or is that add more stress?
I think it's a good way to do it, as long as we also first kind of schedule the things that we need to prioritize. So, don't just say yes to everything else first and then end up saying, no to the things that are most important to us. I think we have to kind of focus instead on scheduling family time first. Scheduling those things that we need to take care of, those things that are most important, those things that need to be our priorities, scheduling those things first, and then knowing after that what we need to say no to or what we genuinely can say yes to in a healthy way. So I think it's that we have to prioritize those things like family time, like taking care of our needs, like being attentive to those different things that maybe are kind of falling off of our radar a little bit more frequently. We have to schedule those in the same way we would schedule a meeting, the same way we would schedule an event. We have to schedule those into our calendar for the week before we start saying yes to those sort of extra things on top of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's not an easy thing, right? I mean, I'm sure you see it with your clients. We have it in our own lives. You have to be able to balance that being busy with making sure you're doing the things in right priority. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Yeah, some
Thanks,
good
Rachel.
helpful material there. Pastoral counselor Rachael Issac, thank you so much. We've picked a great Popcak today.
Love it when the wheel lands
Thank you so
on
much,
Rachel. God bless you,
Thank
Rachel.
you, Rachel.
Have a
God
great day.
bless, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.